All right, let's talk Pine script. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most important and honestly one of the most confusing parts of Pine script v6, the 4-type qualifiers. If you can get a handle on these, I promise you're going to write cleaner, more reliable code that actually works when you need it most. So let's get right into it. You know the feeling, right? You're in the zone, you're building this amazing new indicator, you make one tiny tweak, you hit save, and boom, a totally cryptic compilation error pops up. Well, 9 times out of 10, the real villain is a misunderstanding of how Pine script handles values over time. So what is a type qualifier really? The absolute best way to think about it is as a timestamp. Yeah, a timestamp. It's just a little label that tells the Pine script engine when a value gets calculated and locked in. Is it before the script even runs? Is it when you mess with the settings? Or does it change on every single new bar? That when, that's everything. So here's our game plan. We're going to explore that idea of when. Then we'll look at the strict hierarchy these qualifiers follow. After that, we'll meet all 4 of them one by one. I'll show you the most common mistakes that will absolutely break your code, and then we'll wrap up with a solid plan for you to master your own scripts.
Okay, before we meet the qualifiers themselves, you have to understand 2 fundamental rules. These 2 rules control how they all play together. Seriously, if you can just get these 2 things down, everything else is going to click into place.
Now, this slide here, this is basically your cheat sheet for this whole explainer. You can see our 4 qualifiers, const, input, simple, and series, along with when they get resolved and what you typically use them for. We're going to break all this down, but it's great to see the whole big picture right from the start. Rule number 1 is the dominance hierarchy. Think of it like a pecking order or a one-way street. It goes from the weakest, which is const, all the way up to the strongest and most flexible, which is series. And here's the key. A function that needs a strong qualifier, like series, has no problem accepting a weaker one, but it never ever works the other way around. You can't shove a powerful series value into a spot that's only expecting a simple one. Okay, rule number 2 is even easier. It's all about what happens when you do math. Anytime you mix different qualifiers in a calculation, the result automatically becomes the strongest qualifier in that group. So if you add a weak constant number to a strong series price, guess what? The result is always series. It's as simple as that. All right, with those 2 rules in our back pocket, it's time to properly meet the gang. Let's go through the 4 qualifiers, starting with the most restrictive and working our way up to the most powerful. First up, we have const. The name really says it all. It's constant. Think of const values as being set in stone. They're decided at compile time. That's the exact moment you hit the save button. That value is literally baked into the script's DNA and can never be changed while it's running. And this makes it super clear where you'd use it. You use const for things that you know will never, ever change. A fixed color, like color.red, the text for a label, or a math constant, like pi. When you declare something as const, it becomes immutable, which is just a fancy way of saying you literally can't change its value later in your code. Next on the ladder is input. These values get resolved at input time, which is exactly what it sounds like. It happens whenever you or another user clicks that little gear icon and changes one of the script's settings. The value stays fixed for the entire time the script is on the chart until you change the setting again, which forces the script to restart. Now, most input values come from those input.star functions we all use. But listen up, because here's a huge exception that trips up so many developers. Input.source does not give you an input value. It gives you a series. Why? Because the source itself, like the close price, is a value that changes on every single bar. Remember that one. Moving on, we get to simple. This one is our middle ground. A simple value is figured out on bar 0. That is, the very first historical bar the script can see. Once it's calculated on that one bar, its value is locked in and stays the same for all the other bars that follow. This is perfect for stuff like the ticker name, which the script only knows once it starts running on a chart. And here's a crucial point. Many of the built-in functions, like a simple moving average, require their length to be a simple value. This is where a classic v6 error happens. If you use the var keyword with some if statement logic, you can accidentally upgrade your variable from simple to series, and your function call will fail. And that brings us to the top of the food chain, series. A series value is resolved on every single bar. This is the absolute workhorse of Pine script. It represents the dynamic, constantly changing nature of market data. Pretty much everything you work with that changes is a series. The open, high, low, close prices, all series. the line plotted by a moving average. That's a series too. Anytime you use those square brackets to look back at a previous bar's value, the result is automatically a series. It's the default for a reason. Okay, so the theory is great, but let's see how this stuff actually plays out in the real world. We're going to look at the most common mistakes that people make, the ones that break their code, and more importantly, how you can fix them. Here it is, mistake number 1. This is the one we touched on. You've got a clever idea to make your moving average length change bar by bar, which makes your length variable a series. But then you try to feed it into the ta.sma function, which demands a simple integer, and the script breaks. The solution is straightforward. Make sure your length is a fixed value, either from a const or input declaration. And here's that other sneaky mistake with the var keyword. Let's say you declare a variable using var, and then later, inside an if block, you change its value. Well, PineScript v6 sees that and says, hey, this value could potentially change on any bar, and so to be safe, it promotes it to a series. If you only meant for that calculation to happen once, the fix is to either declare it as const or just initialize it without using var at all.
So, how do you take all this new knowledge and actually apply it right now? Here is your 4-step action plan to start writing cleaner, faster, and way more robust code today.
First, take your old v5 scripts and run them through the v6 converter that's built right into the editor. Pay really close attention to any errors it flags about qualifiers. Second, get into the habit of writing the qualifiers out, like simple int mylength. It makes your code so much easier to read. Third, make tiny little sandbox scripts just to play around and see what happens when you mix different types. And finally, the official trading view documentation is your best friend. Dive in there for even more examples.
At the end of the day, understanding qualifiers is really about understanding the dimension of time within your code. Once you master the when a value is determined, you unlock this whole new level of control and precision. So really, the only question left is, what are you going to build with it? Thanks for watching and happy coding.